Do you like to live? Do you want to survive and not be eaten alive by the undead? Actually, some of you don't answer that. But let's face it, some people are flat out dumb as hell. We've seen how the concept of zombies can be an absolute unknown to certain universes, and for most others, zombies and what they can do are pretty well known and blatantly obvious. In either regard, common sense and survival instinct would kick in at some point, right? If there's one thing I've learned in my nearly 33 years on this planet, people find new and exciting ways on how stupid they can be. Across many scenarios, survivors that face off against the undead will suddenly lose all semblance of intelligence, whether it be for plot convenience or just for no reason at all. In some astoundingly idiotic cases, do people go above and beyond making single brain cell choices with zombies around, often leading them to getting into danger, leaving perfect safe havens, or dying as a result. And that is what we are here to talk about. Today, we are discussing the dumbest survivor decisions in zombie apocalypses. We have a lot of stupid ground to cover across the zombieverse, so as to not stretch this out longer than it needs to be, I just have a few things to say. This list will be in no particular order or ranked in level of idiocracy. As Mama always said,
stupid is, stupid does, Mrs. Blue.
I'll try to only discuss the dumbest decisions per installment of a franchise, not just one instance per universe. You can also say some of these choices were to progress the story, or that it doesn't have to make sense because it's not real. Well, duh! But it doesn't deter how stupid some of these are for me. And it's YouTube, so I have to say the time-honored tradition of saying, these are my opinions. And my opinions are correct today. Comment if you disagree with anything I have to say, because it helps the YouTube algorithm either way. Let's start things off with a movie that was riddled with bad decisions. 28 weeks later, I asked both Twitter and my YouTube community tab what they thought was the dumbest survivor decisions in zombie media. Many people went straight to Don kissing his infected wife and starting the second rage pandemic. I argued that was not the dumbest choice though, not even in the movie. Sure, Don having clearance as a janitor to access a carrier of the rage virus and then kissing her was stupid on so many people's parts, but the fact of the matter was that London wasn't even fully cleared of the rage virus yet. They were still burning bodies, leading quarantine efforts, and most places were still riddled with corpses when they flew in hundreds of healthy people. With how infectious the rage virus is, why start rushing people back in? Yes, you had a quarantine area, but still. Hell, the military even allowed kids to break this quarantine for hours. And when shit hit the fan, the military's plan was to corral all these healthy people into a dark, cramped, claustrophobic basement together like fish in a barrel, just for an infected Don by himself to go to town on them with no security. Boiled down, the US and British armed forces made one dumb decision after another with no rhyme or reason to any of it, leading to Europe experiencing a worse outbreak than before, making the choice to just willy-nilly thrust people into a condensed area to live and then cram them all together into an even more condensed area when the outbreak is happening again is insanely stupid. There wasn't better lockdown procedures in place for this possibility, nigh eventuality? No? Just gonna act surprised when a virus that could spread instantly from one drop of bodily fluids gets out of control again? You can say Dawn was stupid for kissing her, sure, but the military made every possible stupid decision to allow that to even be a possibility. Can 28 years later trump the sheer amount of stupidity displayed in 28 weeks later? Well, we will find out next year when we see the third film shot entirely on iPhone 16 Max Pros. Yes, this entire film was recorded on phones. decisions. But going forward doesn't mean the past wasn't ripe with stupidity as well. 28 Days Later was more gritty and raw. When it came to apocalyptic choices, things got really dumb with the rogue military outcasts. Now think about it, they had everything on lockdown: tight security, decent rations, radio communication, impenetrable defenses. Despite them being disgusting people the second women showed up or when someone questioned their authority, they knew how to survive. Yet when one of their own, Mailer, became infected with the rage virus, the surviving members decided to say screw it! Instead of executing the new health hazard, they decided to knock him out and chain him up outside, keeping him around as a novelty pet, a guard dog, lunging and ravenously growling at anything that draws near while he is chained up. Now, why do this? I get you're all psychopaths and shit, but the fact that Mailer vomits blood repeatedly should be an indication to just kill the man. One drop of blood can infect you, so just leaving this puking, rabid person at your front door via a single chain? Why? It is an incredible risk to have something that can turn one of y'all in seconds from super far away. But hey, anything to give symbolic retribution at the end of the movie for Jim and Mailer. In the vein of movies that keep dumb decisions rolling between sequels, we have to look at Zombieland. It attempts to be the comical version of Zombie Survival Guide, with steps along the way on how to survive a zombie apocalypse. But each character likes to make a contest of how stupid they can be. Wichita was pretty high up there by taking her sister to an amusement park by themselves to attract every zombie in a 3-mile radius. But the celebrity cameo of Bill Murray certainly takes the cake in dumbassitude. Living well into the outbreak in his mansion with no issue, Mr. Murray describes how dressing as the dead let him navigate the world undetected, a concept never brought up again, by the way. Wichita and Tallahassee cook up the brilliant scheme to have Bill scare Columbus, who had not met Bill Murray yet, not knowing of his alive or dead status. Yeah, coming in groaning like a Romero zombie, which the zombies in this series don't even act that way, is a great funny idea. Moaning in the dark while their guard is down and their firearms are within arm's length? What could possibly go wrong? Bill Murray getting pumped full of buckshot in his chest was deserved, as this is a reactionary world now. You can't risk getting bit just because you saw Bill Murray's zombie coming at you. They are in the dark and their attention was divided by the movie they were watching. Trying to YouTube prank scare people like this is just asking to call shotgun on a one-way trip to hell. As far as sequels go, Zombieland 2 one-ups its predecessor in stupidity, the catalyst for the whole movie being Columbus proposing to Wichita, with her response being to take her sister and ditch their group unannounced, having survived the zombie apocalypse with them for over 10 years, to just ditch a safe place and a solid team you can trust over a marriage proposal, risking getting yourselves in a bad situation and your sister cannibalized over that. However, her pulling that stunt is chump change compared to the hippie commune, a whole society of people living as pacifists in a tower. The only way of being a part of this community is by handing in all of your weapons for them to be smelted down into metal jewelry, so you are actively avoiding harming zombies, the things that will gut you and eat your entrails. Make love, not war, against feral cannibals that don't have any kind of sentience except to eat, and you're gonna destroy every single gun in the process. And on top of that, you're going to fire fireworks at night to celebrate for some odd reason, literally making yourself into grass-fed beef on a platter over a decade into the zombie apocalypse. How the hell have these people survived? How can you be a pacifist against zombies a decade in? It makes no sense that they survived this long. But with that rant out of the way, we leave the land of zombies and head towards commercialized sanctuary, where we have 3 moronic judgments within the walls of American malls. The first being the front doors of Willamette Mall in Deadrising 1. With the zombie outbreak in full swing, the survivors of Willamette have taken refuge within their mega mall, barricading the front doors to prevent the undead from pouring in. That is until a frail-looking geriatric woman spots her toy poodle in the zombie horde outside. She goes into a frenzy to bring down this blockade. She is somehow able to achieve the Super Granny 2 form and shove off 3 fully grown adult males, apparently stunning them long enough for her to unlock one door, and then she just kinda powers down, sits there, and gets eaten alive. As for just about everyone else there, they just kinda let themselves be eaten and sit there. Earlier, Redneck Tom over there says zombies are slow and stupid. Then everyone there dies. I guess they're trying to say the modern American is slow and stupid. I get that Betty Gray over there wants to save her beloved pet. Believe me, I know. But little Madonna was gonna be alright. It was obvious they were not attacking the little poodle. They don't have any interest in animals. On top of this, Senior Discount here was easily able to disable grown men, but crumbles in a zombie gangbang? How did she leave her dog behind anyways if she is that psycho-possessive over it? You know what? It would have made a killer psycho boss fight to go against the poodle granny. Staying within the shopping experience, we travel back to the 1970s. The main cast takes refuge in the sprawling confines of the Monroeville Mall in the original Dawn of the Dead. For a while, everything was going pretty okay. Roger does get careless around the dead and gets bitten, but nothing in levels of extreme stupidity. That is, until a roving biker gang busts in to cause havoc and let in hundreds of zombies. The outlaws go in guns blazing in full-on war spurred by Tom Savini's character, all making stupid verdicts while zombies are within just a few feet of each of them. One guy gets shot off a bike and just sits there to let the horde buffet his ass. He doesn't even try to run away. Tom Savini himself gets cornered at a guardrail to get sneak shotted. But nothing, and I mean nothing, beats the pure imbecilic choice made by the biker in the sombrero. I said there was no ranking today, but this guy would be in the top 3. Dude goes and sits down at a blood pressure machine and sticks his arm in with more than a dozen dead nearby and no weapon of his own to defend himself. These bikers are supposed to be like careless frat guys partying with the dead and just going nuts. But what the hell is this thought process in Mariachi Mike here? He puts himself in a literal bind to be eaten alive. I mean, it's a brilliant sight gag when the blood pressure machine flattens out to 0 when it shows his severed arm there. But dude, was it worth it for the joke to be disarmed? Bazinga. Okay, maybe it's time to leave the mall after that stupid joke. I mean, the bikers wrecked the place and let in tons of zombies. Oh wait, this isn't Dawn of the Dead. It's the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead. There was no reason to leave the mall. I have a whole video discussing how stupid this was and going into detail. The fact that they had a decently stocked haven that they could have fortified and lived in luxury in was nothing short of a miracle to find in the very first day of the zombie apocalypse. They even had regular communication with the gun store owner across the way to arrange killing off the dead periodically over time. 1 bullet per brain, boom, easy. They could have done so much with what they had, but they just dicked around in the mall for a few days until the pregnant couple pooped out a zombie, causing the death of 3 of their people. Officer Hull sees this and suddenly says, "I don't want to die here. Fuck y'all," and thinks a rogue escape to Wisconsin Islands via a douchebag's boat is the better option? Yeah, rushing out into hordes of dead you haven't even tried lowering the numbers of is way better, especially since you know nothing of the islands themselves. You have no information about that. I had tons of people commenting on the video I mentioned earlier, saying the mall would have run out of supplies, gangs or zombies would have broken into the mall, or the mall would eventually run out of power. Maybe you're right, but I do see that they fortified a bus to escape the mall. They could easily use that bus to make supply runs in that shit after killing hordes from the rooftops. They could easily make something happen. They could have also picked up Gun Store Andy to get armed up so everyone has guns. Then they could have barricaded all entrances so no zombies or marauders get in. They also don't need power there anyways to survive. Fact is, They had options when they were inside that mall. They were not forced to leave like the OG film when a bunch of bikers busted in. Zack Snyder brain controlled them to leave and get most of them killed in the hopes of a Hello Kitty Island adventure. Work with what you got, not with what you blindly hope will be better when it comes to survival. On that similar note, survivors of zombie apocalypses are not strangers to stumbling on safe havens with everything they need and still abandoning it for no reason. The second season of Black Summer exemplifies that. Stumbling on a ski lodge in the snowy mountain tundras, they find it fully stocked with all kinds of food, running hot water, electricity, and more. This is like a year after the apocalypse too. They could stay here for a very long time if they manage it well. But after one incident with an ex-criminal, does the underage daughter decide for everyone that they have to leave for a chance at an airplane escape? No telling what is at the airfield she is hyping up, but she actively sabotages this perfect opportunity to try and fly to some unknown ass place, to force everyone out into the wide open, freezing cold in the middle of the night to potentially get attacked by zombies or die to frostbite. Really? Yes, there were zombies in a closed off room somewhere in the lodge, but they could have easily taken care of those zombies like they were fish in a barrel. But nah, just like Dawn of the Dead, we need to make the survivors complete morons and leave to advance the plot. Now, where can survivors go if they are trying to get to safety? The four-man group of Left 4 Dead 2 had their sights on Liberty Mall, where an apparent evacuation center was set up. But right before getting to that mall, they run into local gun store owner Whitaker. They make the trade of a 6-pack of cola for some guns and ammo. Not really a bad deal, but Whitaker adds in a bonus offer, blowing up a fuel truck blockading the road with a rocket launcher. Sure, the truck is an inconvenience to have to crawl under or climb over it or go around it, but is it really better to just explode such a gigantic vehicle? Not only would that attract infected from all around, but you also risk debris flying at you in a Final Destination-like fashion, possibly killing you. But it's Left 4 Dead, and doing shit like this just to get a few feet forward is the norm for the series. Now, trying to get to places can be a difficult task in the ghoul-ridden world, so it doesn't make sense when you take the longest and most dangerous routes to get where you're going. The Last of Us 2 does this in spades. You may say the controversial sequel had many dumb decisions, some more on the narrative, but from a survival aspect, Abby and Lev's medicine run to the hospital to save Yara's arm was pretty dumb. Choosing to go up a tall skyscraper, to go across a precarious crane to possibly fall to your death, only to descend another skyscraper as their way to cross a river to the hospital is insane. They had a time-sensitive manner of saving someone's limb. There wasn't any other way besides this route, one full of violent people in one tower, then going across dizzying heights, through crumbling and rotting buildings. You don't know if the walls are going to come down on top of you, and then going against tons of infected and clickers that can infect you in a flash because they like to kind of clump up in buildings like this. I get that Seattle is currently a flooded nightmare, not far off from reality, but how would taking this path be any better than just finding a bridge further down? You think there would be one at this point since they kind of have a base of operations for the scars here. Nah, let's go on a super cool adventure and kill some zombies. But journeys can be muddied with bad decisions. Destinations can be even worse accords. One being Shaun and Ed's decision to take everybody to the Winchester in Shaun of the Dead. Shaun, wanting to save Liz, his mom, and whoever else is attached to them, results in ripping them out of their homes, saying a pub is the only viable safe haven in their small English town of East Finchley. While it is Shaun's comfort zone and personal refuge during his normal life, this symbology ends there when it comes to surviving cannibal corpses. David goes off on a rant about how stupid of an idea it is to be somewhere with windows everywhere that can be easily shattered, even though he broke one of them, and how the only food is snacks, peanuts, and booze. That and the only gun is a Winchester rifle that they don't even know if it works or not. When shit does eventually hit the fan, it takes all but a few minutes for the pub to get swarmed and up in flames. Would have been better off staying at his mom's or Liz's and boarding them up, but nah, let's have everyone but 3 characters die in the end. From England to Ireland, the journey can still be wrought with bad decisions. For the group in Anna in the Apocalypse, getting to the school before sundown when it gets dark is imperative. So to do that, they decide to cut through a darkened Christmas tree warehouse to save time. It makes no sense to go through somewhere you can barely see, with tons of trees to hide threats, to an exit you don't even know exists. Why would cutting through a building save time when you can just run around it? Why pull a Last of Us 2 and take a convoluted route full of unknown dangers? To save time? Nah, to give the writers a setting they didn't know how to write their characters into. No realistic person would look in this dark hollow and say, "This looks like a much better shortcut, this will definitely save us time." Yeah, they are trying to avoid the darkness of night by rushing to the school, so they rush into a pitch black warehouse to achieve that goal? Arriving at your objective can be one of the most dim-witted things you do if you are not prepared. Army of the Dead gave a glowing example of what the fuck. Yes, the idea of pulling off a heist in a quarantined Las Vegas before nukes are dropped is dumb as hell, but the stupidity of most of this movie is dwarfed by a simple few-second clip. Near the beginning, when Las Vegas is being overrun, survivors fight the dead while bomb strikes and jets fly overhead. The US Army decided that they needed to drop in paratroopers in the midst of all this. These guys only armed with pistols as they slowly descend into waiting hordes. What was the plan here? The city is already predominantly zomboids. Why even send in troops in a manner that turns them into Uber Eats for the dead? These guys are not Kyle Crane at the beginning of Dying Light 1. Was the plan to airdrop them in and have them... I have no idea. I can't even think of a reason why the army or these guys are even being sent down. Some people are saying, oh, the jets crashed and they ejected out of their jets. I don't know how the jets would be crashing in the first place. None of this makes sense. It's just a dumb sight gag with no punchline. Let's have dozens of troops drop in on the zombies to get eaten, despite already bombing the zombies and walling off the city. Brilliant! Failing to acknowledge the zombie threat is stupid in its own regard. In Dead Island 2, taunting one is just as dumb. A Hollywood agent named Ronnie Redford goes up to a window during a scavenging run to see his ex-client Nikki Gutt appear at the window. Instead of getting back and away from the threat, he bangs on the window, taunting the corpse. He knows fully well of how special variants of zombies exist, and how zombies can easily break glass. If you looked at it for long enough, you can tell this zombie is not normal, but he keeps taunting her until this screamer bursts the barrier between them with a shriek to not only debilitate him, but attract other zombies so they all eat him alive. Why sit there and taunt a zombie that has obviously mutated, that is only a few inches away from you, separated only by glass? You are just asking to get mauled and bit, and that's what happens. Ronnie Redford became Donnie of the Deadford because of stupid choices. But making bad choices face to face with zombies is bad enough. But what about in front of other survivors? In the TV adaptation of The Last of Us, soon after meeting Joel and Tess, does Ellie's personality clash with Joel's grizzled personality? The dude is already resistant to the idea of escorting her. He blatantly tells Tess that if she even so much as twitches as a sign of the cordyceps infection, he would do something immediately. Her response, sitting there making choking noises, almost clicking sounds while making stiff convulsions in front of a guy that's killed countless infected over 20 years, that is winning the gold medal in the Idiot Olympics. Why even fake that with someone you just met?
Okay, I was just trying to make sure that we were cool, like we're friends.
We just met!
When this infection can take hold of someone just from a single spore being inhaled, which your backstory later shows you've dealt with this, why risk scaring a stranger enough to where they could pull out a gun and pop your ass? Seeing a zombie from behind glass can make you feel safe, but what about one that's behind glass in a containment barrel? In Return of the Living Dead, local morgue foreman Frank and his new hire Freddy are in the basement looking over a barrel sent as a shipping error by the military decades ago, directly linked to the real-life occurrences of Night of the Living Dead. Debating if this is really a zombie in there or not, Frank bangs the barrel as a cocky sign of the workmanship of the US military, accidentally spewing the gas inside and kickstarting one of the most OP zombie outbreaks ever. For one thing, even if you don't believe it's a zombie or that zombies exist or anything bad, why smack a barrel that was accidentally sent there by the government with God knows what inside of it, especially in the 80s at the pinnacle of the Cold War scare with deadly chemicals being a constant scare? If there is such a gigantic lore dump behind what the corpse is in the barrel, maybe don't go banging it and risking anything happening. On the note of the 3,4,5 trioxin, the OG zombie flick Night of the Living Dead had some lapses in judgment as well. While the aptly titled ghouls continued to surround the rural farmhouse, those inside tried to devise ways to either run or hide. Needing to get medical supplies, Ben, Tom, and Judy go out in an attempt to fuel Tom's truck, readying torches and Molotovs to deter the ghouls due to their fear of fire. But apparently, they forgot gasoline is flammable as Tom just shoots the liquid all over willy-nilly, getting it all over their escape vehicle and more. With how slow and dumb these zombies are, a simple torch near their faces while the group filled up on gas would have sufficed, but I guess that's not how they roll. Instead, Tom and Judy climb in a burning truck to get away from the walking ghouls, and then the car proceeds to explode. I know y'all are in a panic over the cannibals, but why jump in a burning vehicle? You obviously can say they walk, you just can barely do a speed run and outpace them, not jump in a burning truck. Are you wanting to be Zombie Barbecue, aka ZBQ? Sometimes getting to safety can put your guard down, but not enough to put your life in the line of stupid fire. In the Korean series All of Us Are Dead, a group of students are able to get into a classroom away from the infected. They broke a window in the process. After getting inside, the fat kid goes to sit and relax right under that shattered window to get grabbed. Incredibly dumb just to put yourself right next to the clear point of entry that you can see and hear. Like, incredibly. Sure, there are stupid as hell stunts all throughout this series, like the rich chick intentionally infecting another student or the firefighter father sacrificing himself for no reason, but these are more so evil or heroic irrational decisions. But in the vein of pure neutral dumb assitude, Fat Kid at the window takes the cake. Health checks can be of the utmost concern when you have an established safe haven. In Blood Quantum, Native Americans are immune to the zombie virus, but regularly check others for signs of infection before letting them in their camp, just to be safe. Except this one group that shows up and one of the chicks is like, nah, I'm fine, you don't have to check me. Someone in her group was bitten and had to be put down. Why risk someone turning into a zombie and causing chaos and taking this random girl's word for it? Why are you trying to pull a boner like this? Well, it's this stupid decision that has the same chick zombify and eating a boner. Literally, like full-on flopping, eating a hot dog with extra ketchup. If infection is so easy, why slouch on quarantine rules? This one little slip-up screws up everything for everyone there. Oh, it's for the movie to progress so we can go, haha, eat a dick. Having to choose between the good of the few versus the good of the many can be a great moral dilemma. In the case of Kyle Crane in Dying Light, listening to the GRE caused a huge, immoral, and honestly stupid decision. When Kyle is able to acquire a substantial amount of the Haran virus suppressant antizin, GRE informants told him to burn all vials to cause the tower to negotiate with gang warlord Reyes for a file he had stolen. The GRE had no video feed of Crane, so sitting there and destroying dozens of this drug was stupid in all honesty, if not to save innocent lives in the tower, but to also keep yourself alive since you are infected. You were infected the moment you landed in Haran. That and to keep allies alive in the eventuality that they too got infected, like Jade later on. Hell, he pocketed a vial for himself but didn't save Jade. I get having to work for a powerful organization with ties in all governments and shit, but how is providing some antizin under the table to prevent more zombies a bad thing? You don't want to risk someone turning where you sleep at night and gouging your throat out. And to end off this compilation of stupidity, I was trying to avoid this last one due to its length and dropping out of the series once the Negan saga concluded. But The Walking Dead has many dumb choices made by every survivor. Andrea lets the psychopathic governor live, which eventually leads to the destruction of the prison safe haven. Glenn being sent down a well to try and hoist a bloated zombie out of it to try to, I don't know, clean their water, even though that water is for sure contaminated, believing Eugene, some random redditor with a mullet, was the path towards a cure and keeping him alive, despite adding nothing to the group for a while. And this is also despite the original survivors knowing a cure would not be possible because they were actually at the CDC before it exploded. Daryl punching Negan despite being surrounded by fully armed saviors and causing Glenn's death. Rick even had a stupid moment by being told by Dr. Jenner that all people that die come back to life. And Rick doesn't tell anyone until Shane dies. Critical information to withhold from everyone there. That's something people need to know in a zombie apocalypse. There's a lot more in this treasure trove of stupid outcomes throughout the Walking Dead series, and I'm sure in the spin-offs as well. But at the cream of the crop, a dumb decision made by both a character and the show's director was the fact that Carl got bitten so easily. Carl, after everything he had experienced and learned from his fellow survivors, his dad, and fighting against the dead, just gets bitten so easily while trying to save some random named Sadiq. Yes, mistakes happen to all of us, but for him to just let these slow-moving, shambling bastards overwhelm him to get easily bit was so stupid. To be honest with him and everyone else surviving for as long as they did, the fact no one wears bite-proof clothing is impeccably idiotic. He got bitten in the stomach just by 2 walkers. That and not knowing how to execute a few slow-moving targets quickly years into the apocalypse is just as bad. It was stupid then, and reflecting on it, it was stupid to kill Carl off like that on Scott Gimple's part. Having the kid of Rick Grimes die like a scrub just to save on paying him adult actor money made me believe Gimple just blew in from Stupid Town. Carl dying was easily avoidable and was written just for shock value and clicks. No one, especially Carl, should be acting so carelessly at this point. And for people that have lived with walkers this long, they should all be consistently wearing bite-proof apparel at this point if being bitten is going to be such an easy occurrence. Sheesh, I broke character there, and I called a behind-the-scenes person's decision stupid, but it was. Well, that wraps up this look into over 20 dumb decisions, but they are merely a pin drop in the ocean of stupid choices made by zombie apocalypse survivors. What are some decisions in zombie games, movies, and television that you believe are a top-level contender in the dumb-offs? Let me know down below. I am really interested to see what other stupid people are out there. I mean, in the zombie media. Maybe we could do a follow-up of this video in the future. Shout out to Chago, my editor, for putting this whopper of a video together for your viewing pleasure. He's got a Terrifier movie recap out, so swing by and tell him Wow sent ya. Also, big thanks to my donors who chip in to help keep the channel moving forward in one of 3 ways to have your name featured here. You can do it as well by donating on my Patreon, hitting the join button on my channel page, or donating during weekly live streams of Left 4 Dead 2 on my second channel, WSG Streams. Also, Whoa, tongue tie. I'm sponsored by Gamersups, so if you want some good drinkage with a waifu, use my code WOW at checkout for 10% off your order. The guys that work at Gamersups said if you use that code and I get enough sales, I might even get my own waifu cup I can design, and we can see about making a certain special infected lady into a sexy waifu cup. Who knows? Until next time, I'm Zackass, aka Wow Such Gaming. Never forget to stay happy, stay healthy, don't make bad, stupid, fucking idiotic decisions, and stay wow.